Welcome to the Middleware Tech YouTube channel. In this series, you'll learn about Java Constructor. All code examples used in the videos will be available on GitHub. Let's get started.
Now, the next step, you're moving using constructor, this as well as this function. So just see here, please. So let me take another object, take another object like employee. Okay, employee will take, or employee. Okay, so if employee is an object, so we can create a particular class for employee. Fine. Okay, so I'm creating one class employee. Fine. So already I told you that Java, as per Java API specification, my class name should always start with a capital letter. Now employees, if you think employee is an object, so object attribute we can define as an instance variable inside a class. So we can write here int empid. Fine, it's an attribute, right, of employee. A string emp name. Take three instance variable inside the class. A string emp sal. Fine. So here I have used three instance variable. You can use it as a double. It's much more double. I have used three instance variable inside this class employee. This three instance variable is defined inside a class. It's fine, no issues, right? Okay. Next, take one method inside this employee class, like display method. So void display. This is my display method. This is a display method, and it's going to print the details. System dot out dot println. Fine, and here I use empid plus empid plus, I'm just printing all the variable value, emp name plus emp name plus, then you can use emp sal equal to plus emp sal. Fine. These are the string. These are the Java instance variable, and string and Java instance variable concatenated with this plus symbol. Fine. It is a simple class that have instance variable and method. Simple class. Fine. Okay. Now, so how we can compile this class Java employee.java. Now, if I want to run this is how I can compile this class. So if I want to compile this class, what I have to do? I have to use Java C employee.java .class file. Now, if I want to run this file, if I want to run it, I cannot run. Why? Because this class, it doesn't have the main method, right? So we cannot run this file, right? If you want to run, then I have to write the main method inside the class. So if I'm going to write main method, public static void main string args. Fine. Now here main method. Fine. Okay. Now I can run this code and assume I'm creating one employee class, employee E equal to now this is employee E, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an object of a particular class. So how we can create an object? See, to create an object, we always use new keyword. You have the new keyword. So when I'm going to create an object, this is an object, new emp, new employee. So this is my object. This is my object, new employee. Now this object generally created inside a heap area. I'll talk about them after some time, not now. Let me go with the constructor concept for the time being. Okay, so here in these examples, I have created an employee object, right? And using this employee object, I'm calling display method, e dot display display method. Fine. So it should work fine, no issues. And now in this scenario, you can run this code also, right? Java employee. Fine, I can run it. Now I'm talking about constructor. This code will work fine, no issues. This code will work fine. Now I'm talking about constructor. What is this constructor? 5W. What is this constructor? Why I'm going to use this constructor? When I'm going to use? Everything we should know. So let's come to one by one. First, I'm talking about constructor only. First point is that constructor is used to initialize an object attribute. How it is? Let me check. Just see here, please. I'm writing one constructor here. Just see. I'm writing employee. Okay. Opening brace and closing brace. So in this class, I have created one employee, opening brace, closing brace. I am saying that this is a constructor. Okay. So just see here why I'm saying this constructor. First point is that the constructor that I have created, this constructor name and the class name must be same. Let me show the properties first. First property, constructor name and class name must be same. Yes, constructor name and the class name is same. Fine, first point. Second point is that if you see inside this class, you have one method, you have instance variables, and this is a main method. Now, if you see, this method have a return type, whereas constructor have no return type. Another point, if you write a constructor, constructor have no return type. Second point. Constructor have no return type. Fine. Constructor have no return type. Fine. Now this constructor, if you see this constructor, I have written. Now I can write another one constructor. Let me write another one constructor. Just copy this, Control C, Control V. Now here, the second one, I'm going to write here int PID, comma, string ename, comma, double esal. Fine. And inside this constructor, I'm going to do here is that emp id equal to eid, emp name these are instance variable. Instance variable name equal to ename and emp sal equal to esal. Fine. Okay. Now if you see that I have written here two constructor. I've written here two constructor. Fine. I've written here two constructor. Now let me take it in the same page. Okay. Now complete class is in the same page, right? And today I'm using Notepad. From tomorrow I'll use IDE. Just to it will be helpful from first timer if I'm going to learn. Okay. Now here I have written two constructor. This is the constructor that has no argument. This is another one constructor that have some argument. Just see here, 3 argument. So we can have a constructor with no argument and constructor with argument. So if the constructor has no argument, then we say it is a default constructor. I print something, system dot out dot println. Okay, you can write default constructor, right? And here you can write something constructor. If it has some argument, then we say it is a parameterized constructor. Fine. Okay. Now see, so constructors are two types. One is constructor without argument. Constructor without argument is called default constructor. Constructor with argument is called parameterized constructor, right? So another one point we got. Constructor without argument is called default constructor. Fine. And constructor with argument is called parameterized constructor. And constructor with argument is called parameterized constructor. Fine. Parameterized constructor. So two types of constructor. Fine. Here. Next point. Now this default constructor and parameterized constructor I've declared inside my class. Now the question is that I'm saying properties of constructor. I'm talking about properties of constructor, right? Now I have to say, like, if this is the property of a constructor, then what is the purpose of using constructor? Why I am going to use constructor inside my class? What is the advantage I'll get using constructor? So the purpose of using constructor is it is used to initialize an object attribute. Okay, how it is going to initialize an object attribute? So just see here how it is going to initialize an object attribute. Let me delete this. Now see, in the first scenario, I have created an object. So when I'm creating this object, if you see when I'm creating new employee, I'm using here default. This is a default constructor. I'm calling new keyword using this default constructor, and it is creating an object of this class. Now it is calling this is a constructor. This is a default constructor. So using default constructor, when I'm creating this object, it is using default constructor, right, to create this object. So what is the purpose of this constructor? So this object, the object name is E. So this object is initialized using this default constructor use default values. Fine. So here it is calling which constructor? It is calling a default constructor. Fine. Similarly, I can call parameterized constructor also. So when I'm creating this object using default constructor, in this object, how many attribute is there? In this object, how many attribute is there? 3 attribute is there. EMP-ID, EMP-name, and EMP-sal. And all the 3 attribute default constructor, all the 3 attribute is initialized using default values. So what is the status of all the instance variable? First instance variable is EMP-ID. Default value is 0. Second instance variable is EMP-name. Default value is null. Third instance variable is EMP-sal. Default value is 0.0. Default value of double, right? So when I'm creating an object using default constructor, this object is initialized with default values. Fine. Now I'm creating another object, employee E1 equal to new employee. Fine. Second object we have created. Now here I want to use parameterized constructor. Assume employee ID is 22. Assume employee name. Assume employee name is right. Any particular name? Navin. Assume employee salary. Fine. So assume the double value, right? Dot 00. Fine. Okay. So I've just written some value int string within double quotes double value dot 0, right? So now what I have done, this is a parameterized constructor. This is a parameterized constructor. When I'm calling this parameterized constructor means I'm calling this parameterized constructor, and it is initializing this object attribute. So inside this object I have 3 attribute. First attribute is employee ID, its value is 22. Second attribute employee name, its value is Navin. Third attribute is employee salary, its value is 20,000. Right. Now after that I'm calling E1 dot display. Fine. E1 dot display. Done. Now if you see here, save it. I'll save. Now if you see this, so this object I have created using default constructor. This object I have created using parameterized constructor. So what is the use of the constructor? Using this constructor, it is going to initialize the object attribute. Default constructor is used to initialize objects default attribute values, and parameterized constructor is going to initialize objects attribute using this parameter. Correct. So ultimately I'm going to use this. This is a parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. So ultimately the purpose of constructor is to initialize an object attribute. Either it is default constructor or parameterized constructor, whatever you're going to use, the purpose is to initialize object attribute. First one is initializing the default values. Second one, it is initializing the value that you're going to pass via constructor. So the purpose is to initialize an object attribute, right? So we can add another one point here. Constructor or it is used to initialize object attribute, right? It is used to initialize objects attribute. Fine. Okay. Yes, so we can see here, yes, it is initializing the object attribute, default constructor, default values. Let me execute and check. Let me execute and check whether it is for employee class. Fine. So control C copy, and let's go inside the folder, open this notepad, So Control V. I have used employee.java. So file, save as. Employee.java. Save it employee.java. If I have saved this employee.java and compile, sorry, it is not. I have to compile the employee, right? So Java C employee.java, employee.java, right? And then Java employee. Fine, enter. Yes, we can see here for default constructor, we got the default values. For parameterized constructor, we got the parameter that you have passed. Now, if you want to make it much more better way to print, then you have to use some space in between, then it will print it properly.